Good evening, it being close to 6:30. We are conducting this meeting of the Bruxton Conservation Commission remotely in accordance with Governor Healy's open meeting provisions, updated in March of 2023, which extended certain COVID-19 provisions until March 31st of 2025. Real-time participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission using the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during a public input portion of the hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be on the city's webpage. Please note that this is a professional meeting. Should disrespectful or inappropriate statements be made during the meeting, the host reserves the right to mute the speaker. All votes taken during this meeting will be done by a roll call vote to ensure count accuracy. Commissioners, if you could state both your first and last name so that we might determine quorum.
Ruby Clay.
Lily Green.
And Joyce Voris. So 3 of the 5 members are here, establishing quorum. Due to the extensive nature of this agenda, applicants are being asked to keep their presentations to a maximum of 10 minutes, please. And Agent Holden, will you be able to time that?
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Before I actually begin the meeting, I would like to ask Mr. May to present information about, well, go ahead, Rob, if you'd like to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
As many of you know, the city's contract with our house doctor, which is Beta Group, expires on June 30th of this year. We have been attempting to secure additional house doctor assistance. One of those attempts failed to bring anybody to the table. We're hoping that we can get an emergency temporary contract underway with somebody so that we don't shut down the city. The responses to that RFP are due on Friday at noon. So I will know at that time if anybody has applied, and I will send that information to the commissioners so that they can all rate any of the respondents. One of the things that makes this whole process a little bit more difficult is that Monday night, City Council passed an ordinance that reshapes the way boards and commissions hire outside consultants for third-party review. Going forward, assuming that this becomes law, the board or council or commission through the planning department would keep a list of qualified technical assistance providers in basically a pool of pre-qualified service providers. As an application comes in, the department is then supposed to transmit that application to all of those pre-qualified service providers. And when they have, and the service providers have 10 days to return a scope of work and a fee proposal. Upon receipt of that fee proposal, that information is then transmitted to the applicant, and the applicant will decide who they are choosing to do their independent third-party review. So basically, the only authority you have as a commission from now going forward is to determine who is considered qualified and who is not. And that's the end of my presentation. Without editorializing, that is the end of my presentation.
With a very quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it limited only to 3 qualified providers that would be in that pool? I thought it was only limited to 3.
We can have as many pre-qualified as we want. We have to send the proposal out to a minimum of 3 pre-qualified service providers.
Sounds confusing.
It's a tad confusing. It's a tad, never mind, I'll leave that alone. But when we set out our first RFP, we were trying to compromise with City Council, and we were going to try to hire 3 independent consulting firms. Right now, we only have 1 because Beta Group was the only one that bid on the contract 5 years ago. That RFP that went out, I had no one respond to. And as we went and talked to the respondents, or the lack of respondents, went and talked to our contacts at those companies, they told us that the work is it's not a big enough contract or amount of work to divide between 3 consulting firms. Because the contract would have, the projects would have rotated between the firms, so that everybody got a shot at it. This new process where there's not a guaranteed income and there's not a guaranteed amount of work, I think is going to be very difficult for service providers to want to become pre-qualified. And so with the contract expiring, anything that is being added or introduced to the commission tonight, we'll have to wait for technical review until we have had a chance to solicit responses through a public RFP process, which will take 30 days. And then the commission will have a chance to review those applications and determine who is qualified and who is not qualified. At that point in time, once we have people qualified, we'll be able to send those applications to those pre-qualified service providers for them to propose a scope of work and a fee. And you don't have any role in determining what that scope of work is. Your only, or who gets that contract, your only role is to determine who is pre-qualified. And this ordinance is not just for the Conservation Commission, it affects the Planning Board. It will affect the Historic District Commission once it is approved. It should also affect the Stormwater Authority once that is appointed. So this will be an interesting process going forward.
Mm-hmm. So if if the intent is to streamline the process, I'm not sure that I see it reflected. But time will
Best
tell.
intentions.
Okay, so anyone that we're going to be referring out then from this point forward would have to be under that new, the new guidelines, is that correct? Or
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions or anything?
No questions for me.
The only question I guess would be just how, I guess later as a commission, we go about forming that list of what's pre-qualified.
In the RFP that we'll be sending out, there are a list of minimum qualifications that will have to be, that the respondents will have to clear the first hurdle. And then there's maybe 12 other points that you will grade them on as to whether they're highly advantageous, satisfactory, not advantageous. And you'll read their statements of qualifications, you'll look at the material, and then you'll compare them, and individually you will determine what your score is, and then as a group, and I guess that'll have to be in another public meeting, you will then meld all of your scores together to get a final score and final recommendation as to who is qualified and who is not.
Interesting.
Interesting. There is a question in the audience, and it is our DPW commissioner. And so I am going, Madam Chair, may I unlock
Please do,
his mic?
please do. It's fine.
Good evening, Pat.
There we go. Sorry about that. Just a quick question, Rob, just because I was looking through the council orders. Has that been finalized yet? Because it doesn't appear to me as though it has been. I know it went to ordinance and went out recommended favorably, but I don't see it in the signed orders that came across today.
It was signed on, or it was voted on Monday night. And maybe it is one of those orders that the mayor has not quite signed yet. He has until Thursday, I think, end of business to determine whether.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was
a.
I didn't know if that was the first reading and it had to go back to finance and then back to council for a final reading. Is this
No,
the
it's
first time
been-
it's been read?
No, it's been going on since April.
Because I was at that ordinance meeting in June, maybe. When it came out, however it came out favorably, not favorably, because I had my sewer request in. I'm just thinking that there's no way in my mind anyway that it could have gone through that whole process already, but maybe I'm wrong.
I did get this information from the city clerk. I will confirm it tomorrow.
Okay.
Anybody else? Counselor or commissioners? Excuse me. I've elevated you guys.
I think
If not,
that,
I will turn this back over to Kyle. And we'll talk to you in the very near future.
okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, Kyle, was there anything else that you wanted to add before I took the?
No, I don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Okay.
Kyle, I'm making you host now.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
I almost signed out without doing that. I would have gone blank. You're now host.
Let's see what my agenda. I'm sorry. I thought I had everything ready here and I don't, oh, here it is. Okay. First item on the agenda, meeting minutes from May 15th. Commissioners, have you had a chance to read the minutes from May 15th? Do you have any questions or comments?
No questions, no comments. They've been read.
No questions or comments.
Okay, I entertain a motion, please, to accept the minutes from May 15th.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from May 15th.
I second that motion.
Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Green eye.
And Boris, aye. That passes, thank you. Okay, so the first item on the agenda, real item on the agenda under new filings would be your certificate of compliance for the easement between Alger, Thatcher and Southfield for a Whitman 20-inch forced main sewer replacement. Do we have a representative from the applicant?
We do. I'm going to promote Andrew Grotta to a panelist. Anyone else that is here to speak to this, please raise your hand in the chat, and I will promote you. Thank you.
Andrew Grotta.
That's correct.
Hello, Andrew. Welcome.
Thank you. Alrighty. Permission to share my screen?
Certainly.
Great. Ready? All right. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Mhm.
So I know I've been before the commission before, so thank you again for having me back. My name is Andrew Grotta. I'm a project manager with Environmental Partners Group in Quincy. I'm speaking on behalf of the Town of Whitman Department of Public Works on the 20-inch sewer force main replacement project. This project has had a pretty long history. Originally, the project itself was had an approved order of conditions back in December of 2020. I think last I had spoken with you folks, we had requested an extension on the permit because we were going up against the 3-year completion of the original order of conditions. So this is just a figure just to provide a little context. So the project itself was replacing about 16,000 linear feet of 20-inch ductile iron force main pipe. This is the main sewer line that runs from the town of Whitman to the city of Brockton for treatment. In general, Whitman sends, I would say, 95 to 99% of its flow through this line. And basically it runs along Auburn Street in Whitman, through a cross-country easement into Brockton, across Alger Street, and then through another long cross-country easement past Thatcher, behind the abandoned or capped landfill, and then discharges on the Southfield Drive. So just some history. So the project itself, like I said, was originally approved under the order of conditions in late 2020. We put the project out to bid in late 2021. The project itself was awarded to C. Naughton Corp. of Bridgewater, and they promptly began construction in the spring. I know we did begin the easement work. I believe it was that summer of 22. And we were able to successfully install and commission the entirety of the pipeline and get that commissioned in the fall of 23. So ever since the project has started, we've been putting together typical biannual reports. This is required by the order of conditions. This is the latest version of the report. We've retained Pine Brook Consulting as our firm that did the original wetland delineation. They've been doing the biannual reports for you folks. And we've been attaching some photos just to document the condition of the easement. In general, the project went really well. Obviously, we're dealing with some pretty challenging conditions. As you can see in some of the photos, there's some standing water here. Obviously, groundwater was a huge issue during our project. We had to cross a 300 to 400 foot segment of Beaver Brook, which proved to be challenging. We ended up doing that via directional drilling. But ultimately, the contractor performed the work that was slated and followed the conditions well, and ultimately got the project done. So as part of the order, we had submitted the final record drawings for the project. Those were submitted as part of the biannual report this past month. And we had submitted a request for a certificate of compliance for the project. I understand that Kyle had visited the site with Brooke and provided his agent report, which I'm sure he'll get into in a moment. You know, I think in general, the report outlines some additional erosion controls and some sediment piles, some additional matting that has to be removed from the site. We take no exception to that. That would be something the contractor would remove as part of their closeout of the project. They basically have, since the completion of the force main, they've been working on punch list items over the winter and are essentially nearing completion for the entirety of the job. So technically they're still under contract through the town. We're still holding a little bit of money on the contract for them to do any final cleanup type items. But in general, I know they did seed and restore the easement last fall. And it appears that, you know, based on some of the photos from Brooks' report, that is coming to fruition in terms of the growth and vegetation that's coming back. So just in closing, I would just say, you know, respectfully ask for a certificate of compliance based on following the conditions of the permit, obviously with the condition of removing those excess materials. And again, that's all I have at this time. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Was there someone else from your company? Lisa Sherman, was there anything that you'd like to speak to?
I don't believe that she's.
I'm on. Yeah, I'm on for the next one. Thank you,
okay.
though,
All
Madam
right, I'm
Chair.
sorry.
No
Okay.
problem.
Okay. Kyle?
Sure. Yeah. So I've sent you all my agent report. More or less, you know, as Andrew had mentioned, I went out there on site with Brooke when she was doing her most recent site visit. And yes, there are some construction materials that are kind of still in place in the easement that I outlined in the agent report. So that in conjunction with the the seeding not quite becoming established when they seeded the easements of the disturbed areas. My recommendation in the report is to deny this request for certificate of compliance, mainly because once we issue the certificate, the commission loses out on any kind of like leverage outside of just like good faith that the applicant will follow through on any of these things. And Andrew, that's no poor reflection on you, but like that's just, I'm just wanting the commission to be aware of that. I mean, the commission can choose to issue the certificate of compliance. The work is done. They have demonstrated, that they are, trying to work within the constraints of the order. But I just don't think that it's done to the T, and I'm not sure that the commission should be issuing the certificate of compliance before everything's kind of wrapped up and confirmed. But that's just my recommendation. And that's all I've got, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kyle, do you have any photos at all of the?
I didn't bother taking any when I was out there because everything that I kind of say in my agent report is also mentioned in Brooks' report. So no, I don't have any photos handy.
I know I did have a couple photos attached to the report that I provided as part of the biannual summary. And I think it's pretty striking when you look at the difference between the ones we did from last November to the ones that I think you saw in the field the other day, Kyle. The vegetation out there is clearly, it is starting to grow. And I think ultimately the challenging part is that, we're in the season now where you have a lot of that water that's kind of sitting there. And I think you had even mentioned in your report, there was some tire tracks or marks from ATVs and dirt bikes that might be going through that area. So, I'm just concerned if we had to reseed, we probably don't have that ability at this point. It probably would have to be in the fall. And then at that point, there'd be some additional time to see it through. So again, I understand, the position of the commission. Either way, I just wanted to, present our case and say, we are willing to, do whatever's necessary to close this out. I think in general, like I said, happy to remove any materials as part of a condition to, see this through.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners.
I kind of agree with Kyle's recommendation. I think it would be best practice if we make sure everything meets what it's supposed to under the current conditions and make sure that the vegetation is reseeded if in fact it needs to be. But we just need to make sure that all of the construction, the remaining gravel and the excess concrete and all the remaining erosion controls are taken care of. I wouldn't be comfortable with moving forward without making sure that work is actually completed.
Yeah, and I think, like I mentioned earlier, Ruby, I know we technically still have the contract open with the general contractor. We are holding a little bit of money on the contract and they're still within their warranty period. So as far as actually having them do any corrective work, that shouldn't be a problem. And like I said, I know we do acknowledge that there are materials that have to be removed from the site.
Lily, any questions or recommendations?
No, I just agree with Ruby that it'd be more comfortable to make sure that the material is definitely removed and just to make sure that the seeding has taken.
Okay, so it sounds to me that the commission is looking for, is there any public here? Or there's no reason?
I have one hand that's been raised, so I'm going to go ahead and promote Scott Daggett.
Okay.
But I don't believe that we have to
necessary
have a
for-
public hearing
yeah,
for
yeah.
this.
Yeah, for CLC.
So I have promoted Scott. I'm not sure if he's wanting to speak to this or not, though.
Scott, you're muted right now.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Scott Daggett, Senior Project Manager for Farland Corp. I was curious if this particular sewer line is the one that crosses through 511 Thatcher Street, the auto salvage yard?
That's correct.
Okay. The reason why I have some curiosity concerning that is because I've been trying to get some as-built information because there's a solar project that's going to be going up, and I want to you know, I do have some information regarding that, but I want to make sure that I can check it against what I have, because we don't want to be putting in these piles for the, you know, for the solar panels and, you know, the solar canopies and run into any problems with the, you know, the underground sewer line. So is there, so is there any way that I could, I know this is a little bit off topic, you know, regarding what's, you know, being discussed, but I was just curious if there's any way that I can get, you know, as-built information showing where the line is, and anything that can show me where the easement
Mr.
is
Daggett,
pertaining to the property.
Mr. Daggett, do you think you could do that through Mr. Holden tomorrow, perhaps?
Sure,
Yeah, I can-
yes, I can reach out to Kyle tomorrow.
That would be great. Thank you. And I do believe the solar project is on tonight's agenda.
Yes, it is. That's why I'm attending.
Okay, if you could do that through Mr. Holden, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So commissioners, I'm tending to believe that you're considering at this point in time to deny the request for the certificate or deny the certificate. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to deny the request for the COC and ask for it to be refiled at a later date. Is that correct?
Correct.
Once
Correct.
all of the things have been
Correct.
attended to.
Correct.
Yeah, entertain a motion then, please.
Okay, I make a motion to deny the request for the certificate of compliance for the Whitman 20-inch force main sewer replacement.
I second that motion.
Okay, so that request has been denied with an understanding that, of course, you would come forward once everything has been completed.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. And, you know, I think as Kyle mentioned, you know, we can put together the next biannual summary, which will be due, I think, this December. So
Sure,
we can
sure.
look again at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully seeds won't be washing away.
Right.
Hopefully, yeah, okay, good. All right, thank you very much.
Madam
Thank you for
Chair,
your time.
we only, we didn't actually vote. We just had a first and second. We didn't do.
I'm sorry, roll call vote,
Clay, I.
Green eye.
and Boris, aye. Thank you. Kyle. Okay, the
Thank you.
motion passes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Groda.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, have a lovely day.
You too.
Okay, the next item on the agenda will be a notice of intent, which is again a new filing. This is for Warren Avenue two-way conversion project. Is there a DEP file number that has been issued, and have the abutters been notified?
So yes, they did issue the DEP file number today with no technical comments. And we have confirmed that abutters have been properly notified.
Okay, thank you. And this is a project with the city of Brockton, is that correct?
Yeah, the city of Brockton is the applicant. That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, so applicants. Applicants first.
So my name is Lisa Sherman. I'm with CDM Smith, and I will be presenting the project this evening on behalf of the city of Brockton and the Department of Public Works. May I share my screen? Yes. So our project is to convert Warren Avenue from one-way traffic to two-way traffic. And this is in support of the public safety building. But this discussion this evening is focused solely on the roadway project. And if you would like, I could bring up a map, but the project extents are from Belmont Street all the way north to Pleasant Street. And the intent of the project is to convert the corridor to be two-way traffic. To support that two-way traffic flow, we will be installing new traffic signal equipment. We will be reconstructing the roadway and the sidewalks, and all new pavement markings and all new traffic signs. So as part of the project, because we are working near Belmont Street, there is a small portion of work that is within the 25-foot no-touch zone riverfront area, the 50-foot riverfront area, and the 100-foot buffer zone of inland bank on Salisbury Brook. And so the plan that I have illustrated here illustrates those areas of work. And I'll walk you through what the work is near this resource. In this section here, and this gives you the approximate areas of the impacts, temporary impacts, and all of this material was included in our application. Can everyone see the plan clearly?
Mhm.
Okay, great, thank you. So the work that we will be doing as part of the two-way conversion project here is we will be milling and overlaying pavement from this point here up to this point here along Belmont Street. And from this point, moving further, it is what we call full depth pavement reconstruction. We will have some sidewalk work. You can see that this is the limit of our sidewalk work right here. We will not be doing sidewalk work beyond this line, and it will just be pavement work on the roadway here, along the existing pavement that's there now. So you can see here the different lines for the impact areas. And here this line is our limit of 25-foot riverfront area and no touch zone. This line here is our 50-foot line. And this line here is our 100-foot buffer zone. So you can see that the work is temporary because we are just going to be milling and overlaying. And that, does everyone understand milling and overlay?
Milling is
You're gonna-
grinding it all up.
Milling, when you mill, you're only grinding about 2 inches of the pavement at most. And you can see it happens a lot on the highway, like on 24 and everything, where they just take the very surface course of the pavement off and then they repave with new pavement. So that's what I mean by milling and overlay. And so anything that this small amount of work here will be, we go deeper with the mill to reconstruct more of the pavement. So in general, that is the illustration of the work proposed near the resource. Kyle, I'm not sure if you wanted anything else presented to the commission.
No, I think that's a pretty good summary to begin with. Thank you, Lisa.
Great, thank you.
And then Belmont currently is one way, I'm sorry, not Belmont, I mean Warren Avenue is currently one way from north to south, right?
That's correct. It is, Warren Ave is a one-way southbound roadway.
Yeah, okay. And the safety building, is that going to be on Pleasant Street?
So the safety building is actually going to be between, it is along Warren Avenue. It is between West Elm Street and Highland Street.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I can certainly show you a map if that would be helpful. Give me 1 second.
The old Keith School property,
Okay.
Thank you, Pat.
or the old
Thank you,
high
Pat.
school, I guess,
Yep,
years ago
yep.
was the old high school.
I'll just, oops.
I don't know why I thought it was in a different place.
I can share my screen on this other screen. Maybe I can't. Can everyone see the map?
Yes.
So this is our project.
Yep.
It's actually, it does go to Spring Street. Apologies. And here's Belmont Street. And so this is the old Keith School.
Yep.
Here. So this is going to be the public safety complex.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Kyle, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just to, I guess I can just summarize, my agent report and the recommendation, and really just the recommendation. So, and this is all kind of tied into what Rob was presenting at the beginning of the meeting, but ultimately there is some stormwater improvements that are being done in a very small portion of the roadway. But it is within that 100-foot buffer to bank. That said, the commission should review that stormwater report, and because we don't have that technical expertise in-house, that needs to be referred to a third-party consultant to do that. I know there's some uncertainty as to who will be doing that work right now, but the recommendation that I have is that the commission go ahead and vote to refer this project out for that third-party review, and then whenever that gets kind of lined up as far as the city, which what avenue they're going to be pursuing, as soon as that becomes clear, we, the planning department, and myself can begin that review process, so we don't have to wait until the next meeting to initiate a peer review.
Sounds reasonable.
And I think for this one, it would just be for the stormwater. I don't think we need a review of the performance standards. I can do that.
Regarding the performance standards, I just had one quick question. I read through the narrative and the NOI, and there were a few places where it referred to sedimentation and erosion control. And I couldn't seem to find it in the document. I don't know if you have a sedimentation erosion control section. I couldn't seem to find it in the file. And it's just,
I could go back. Sure. Let me, if you don't mind, if I could go back to Madam Chair, if you don't mind, if I share my screen again, that is this line work right here.
yep.
And it would be the current, and please bear with me because I'm not a
No, it's fine.
permitting person, but I believe it's the wattles, whatever the current use is. I think it's the wattles or it's a erosion barrier.
Yep. It just mentioned something about it being in the narrative, and I just didn't see it. There have been some issues with erosion control and sedimentation that we're kind of dealing with. So I'd like to just see what you had together for that. And it's nothing I need to read now. I just need to be able to find it.
Okay. Are you looking for what type it is? Like what the treatment type is?
Well, it just, let me see, what did it say?
So there's two
Sediment and
treatment-
erosion control plan was the wording. I think it was on page 7 and page 8.
Okay. I do have the application here, so you can, oops, I'm completely lost. I have too many windows.
I know, I do too. Two computers. And I don't need it now. If you'd like to just send it to me at another time, that's fine. I just was curious because I saw it referred.
Madam Chair, we do have one hand raised from the attendees at the meeting.
A hand raised from where?
Just one of the attendees, Jonathan Geary.
Could we hear from commissioners first? And
Absolutely.
why don't we hear from commissioners first and certainly refer to the public after that? Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments or?
Not really. I mean, I guess like Kyle said, we probably just send it out for the stormwater peer review following the newly adopted city council procedure. So, I mean, I guess that's what we would do. And then does that go to the July meeting after that? How, if that's what we're doing, does that go to the next meeting or?
I would expect it would, yeah, would expect it would have to go to whichever meeting.
Right. But okay, right. Following said process once we obtain someone. Okay.
So Jonathan Geary is actually my colleague, and I think he's trying to get on to help me say the word compost socks. I don't know why I could not pull that out of my.
Yeah, it's page 33, Madam Chair. It says compost sock area.
What, hold on, 33?
Yes. Well, page A3 of the appendix, if you want to be specific.
All right, Madam Chair, we are over 10 minutes, just so you
Okay,
are aware.
that's fine. I'll be happy to find it. I just wanted to make sure that there was something there that, okay, the mitigation
Yes.
measures. Yeah, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Would it be possible for me to just ask a quick question? And this is just due to the project itself. because it's critical that this project moves forward quickly, so that the city can occupy the public safety building. They've already committed that they will not occupy the public safety building until this two-way project has been completed. In order to stay on a timeline that's already been pushed, and it has nothing to do with anybody here on this call, I'm concerned that not getting some form of approval or a path forward may delay this even more. So, and maybe this question is for Kyle, or maybe it's for the whole commission, I don't know. If the ordinance is, or I think it is, and we have to wait through this process to get someone else on board or several people on board, is it possible for the DPW to pay to have an independent peer review through the commission, so that we can keep this project moving rather than delay it possibly till September or October before we get finalization on this?
So, Mr. Hill, are you suggesting that it be done in-house or?
No, I'm not suggesting it be done in-house. I'm suggesting that a peer review be done, that I think I'm comfortable saying that we could finance that, whomever you choose, just to review this individual project. But I don't know, one, if anybody has the authority to do that, two, if that's something you would even consider, and three, this is all hinging on the fact that I don't think the ordinance has been passed yet. So I just see that as a further delay. If it has to go back to more readings of the council in summer session, they only meet, twice a month as opposed to 4 times a month. So I'm really getting concerned the timeline on my project.
What's today's date? The 26th. Can we refer it to beta tonight?
So unfortunately, we are unable to do that. And Road can maybe speak to this if she's here. We've kind of passed the window. I mean, that's what I initially tried to do with these 2 projects, was to get these referred to beta initially. Pat, I unfortunately don't have an answer to those questions. Everything's been so up in the air with this whole new ordinance thing the last 2 or 3 days. I just don't have a straight answer for you. I think that maybe if the commission is willing to vote to have a peer review done, then you and I can be in communication with this after the meeting tonight. We can check with the city solicitor's office and just see if that's something that's appropriate. But I just don't know, unfortunately.
On board, I'm not trying to do anything other than stay on a timeline that's gonna, this is a legacy project, right? And if they can't open that building because I got delayed by 3 more months, and there was something I could have done, I just feel like I have to make every effort to try to make something work.
Sounds reasonable. So, commissioners?
Just a quick question, Kyle. So if we do the peer review and you work behind the scenes, once you get, like, I guess, finalized feedback on what this ordinance means and how it means moving forward, at that point, could you work with Patrick to move this forward, or would it need to come before the commission again?
No, I think if the commission votes to have this referred out for peer review, just in general, without really specifying the process that we're going to be doing, I think that's all that we kind of need to have the authority to kind of do what we need to once this kind of gets ironed out, to move it forward before the next meeting of the commission in July.
Okay, yeah. So I'm in agreement with voting that way.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion, Ruby?
I'd like to make a motion. This is on the notice of intent, right? I make a motion, but this is going to be continuing, right? Or
yeah, because it has to go for a period.
Right. So I make a motion to continue to the next date based on for, which one is this? The Warren Ave two-way conversion project for the stormwater peer review.
I second that motion.
So the motion's been made and seconded to refer the Warren Avenue two-way conversion project to refer it out for stormwater review, and then to continue to the next meeting. And hopefully all of the little players will be able to resolve everything in that meantime.
Okay.
You, everybody.
Okay,
Thank
Thank
And
you.
we just need to do roll call, Joyce.
yeah, a vote, yeah. Okay, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Green eye.
And Boris, aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Okay. Item 3 on the agenda is 1380, let me see, yeah. 1380 Main Street, Campello Towers Modernization Project. Also has a DEP file number and a butters notification been verified.
I'm checking on the DEP file number now. We didn't have one as of last week, or actually even this earlier today. But butters have been properly notified for this project.
Okay, thank you.
If you are in the attendees list, thank you, Steve. I'm going to promote you. If anyone else is here to speak to this project, please raise your hand and we can promote you up. Thank you.
Stephen Swade.
All right. Excuse me. Good evening. My name's Stephen Sawyer. I'm with GM2 Associates. We are the civil engineer on the project, working in behalf of Brockton Housing Authority for basically the modernization of the Campello Towers. I'm going to kind of keep this very quick. We have 10 minutes. It's a big project, so I think what I'll do is jump right into it. I'm not sure. I'm looking to see if there's any. I don't see anybody from the Housing Authority, but I think I'm here to introduce the project and we'll run through it quickly. So I'll share my screen if that's okay. Looks like I have the. All righty. So can everyone see the screen now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so project, I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Campello Towers in Brockton here is Main Street. We're Main Street running on the west side, and we have Plain Street here. The resource areas that we're dealing with that impact the property is the Salisbury Plain River at the rear of the property here. We do have the French Brook here. It's culverted underneath Main Street, and then it daylights out and is and ties into the Salisbury Plain River at this location. So the plan is we have Tower A, Tower B, and the plan is to build 3 buildings to replace these 2 buildings. It's going to be a long project, phased. Part of the project is this is a self-help facility here. This facility will be taken over. The first building, Building A, you'll see in the plan shortly, will be located in this area. The second building, Building 2, will be located in this area, and Building 3 will be located roughly in the area of Tower A. So that is the location of the project. I think what I'm going to do now, I might as well just jump right into the plans and keep this rolling. So did this jump to the next? I just need to make sure it jumped to the next slide.
It did. Yep.
It did. Okay, so now, all right. So we're looking at the existing conditions plan here. So back in, I think it was December of 23 or 22, 23, we did come into the commission for an RDA. And the RDA was solely to confirm the flood zone. So as far as the resource areas where that is impacting the property, probably the most extensive is the bordering land subject to flooding from the Salisbury Plain River. This blue dotted line indicates the current flood zone as confirmed by the RDA. You'll notice there's this hatched area or this dotted line here. This is Tower B, which is actually set just above, the first floor is just above the flood. Let's see, the flood zone was confirmed at elevation 76.9. So the building itself is actually out of the flood, but it's surrounded by flood zone. Excuse me, flood zone. So we have the French Brook that is culverted underneath Main Street. It daylights out for a small little area here. There's a little sump here, and then it's culverted, or there's a large CMP 6-foot diameter pipe that conveys it to where to the where it daylights out along the south side of the property. Salisbury Plain River rolls around this side of the property. I think probably what might be appropriate is I'm gonna jump back from this plan to show you some photos, show photos from the property. I think that would be appropriate. So, okay, did we jump back to the photos?
Yeah, it looks like
Perfect. Okay, it's all working. We're all working well. I like it when that happens. All right, so this is looking down into, there's a large box culvert down at the bottom side of the sheet here where it daylights out. And this box culvert is from, is underneath Main Street. And then it runs into this corrugated metal pipe here where it's conveyed out, conveyed across the property where it then daylights out. And so this is the French Brook, which is actually, it's mapped, or it's classified as an intermittent stream, this portion of the property. And then let's go to sorry, jump around. Okay, so in the rear is the Salisbury Plain River, which is it's a much larger stream, of course. As you work towards, this is looking here, there's a concrete bulkhead that protects the bank. And then as the river rolls around the corner, you can see there is some erosion on the river. This portion of the land is right on the city property and the housing authority line right here where the erosion is present. So yeah, and then I'll probably just show you. So this is looking down, this area here is where the culvert daylights out, and the French Brook continues to the Salisbury Plain River. And let's see, jumping through a little bit. Have we seen that? Okay, all right. I think that'll cover it for the photos. I'm going to jump back to the plans, to the proposed plans. So as you can see, what we have flood zone, we have the river, we have a floodway, and then we do have the other resource areas bank. So the bank to the streams. In orange here, the orange highlighted area is a 25-foot no touch, and then the green is a 100-foot buffer. As you can see, Tower B is right up touching the 25-foot no touch area. You have Tower A, which actually is same. This is the edge of Tower A, very close to the stream, to the French Brook area. There is parking within the 25-foot here, parking in this location. And then this is flagged as bank, which, as you saw, this is kind of an interesting little kettle hole where the culvert comes in and the culvert comes out. I'm not sure as far as I guess as far as the importance of that bank area, but still there's a roadway, there's a drive and parking within that location. So overall, the plan is to demolish these two towers, remove all the paving, and rebuild the property. This will be happening. What I'm presenting tonight is the final conditions. The first phase would not even impact it. The first phase of the work is totally out of the buffer, but I'm presenting the final conditions tonight. Okay, so here we go. We have building 1. This will be the first phase. So this building will be constructed at the beginning of the process. When we do construct that, Tower B and Tower A, which is, it's hard to see here, it is in this location right in here. It's hard to see the existing conditions in the background. But so building 1 will be constructed. Second phase, building 2. Third phase, building 3. But as you can see in the completed condition, we've pulled the buildings completely out of the 100-foot buffer. All the buildings now are completely out of the 100-foot buffer. We're reducing the impact within the 25-foot substantially. All the parking is pulled out. We do have a small strip of walkway. There's going to be a walkway from Main Street that'll circulate residents, and actually it's open to the public to an area here. This was previously parking right up against right at the rear of the property towards the Salisbury Plain River. This will all be now become a seating, a sitting area, park area, with reduced impact and planting within the buffer zone. The 25, I'll show you the 25 I'll show you the planting plan later, but there is native planting all within the 25-foot buffer and also the 50-foot buffer. So one of the important items is the flood zone. We are working in the flood zone. We're allowed to regrade in the flood zone so long as we don't increase any fill. There's no net fill below the floodplain. So what we're doing is within this area in red, we're creating storage in the floodplain. As you can see within the existing building, the area green, we're filling. But the net result is we're actually creating additional storage for flood compensation within the bordering land subject to flooding. And the second item is we're lifting the proposed building out of the flood we're setting that elevation at 79, which the current flood zone is at 76.9. So we're actually 2 feet. We've set this 2 feet above the flood, where currently this existing building is right at flood. So we're increasing the resiliency or providing much better resiliency for future flood conditions for the new building at that location. Of course, we would like to raise it more, but unfortunately, I think as we do that, we start to off balance, we end up filling in the floodplain, which we're not allowed to do. So I think this is a good balance where we're at. Right now, the building code requires that you're 1 foot above. We're actually 2 foot above. So that's I think we're providing a great benefit there. So currently there's no stormwater management on the property. Everything is piped, or there's a stormwater easement through the property that conveys water from Montello Street Extension through the property to the French Brook. What I've highlighted here is all of the stormwater mitigation. Due to the complexity of the site, the density of the site, and the fact that we're going to need to maintain residents on site, all of the stormwater management systems are going to be placed underground. So we have these large concrete chambers that we're going to be setting around the site where stormwater will be held and infiltrated. And what's achieved at those locations is we're going to meet the full. Hello? Oh, we okay? What we achieve at this location, what we achieve now is full compliance with stormwater quality and stormwater recharge.
So those green rectangles are all stormwater.
And they're not the plastic. These are the large concrete chambers, so they're robust, and they can pull out. They easy to access. It's easy to access and maintain, and they provide a substantial amount of storage. So the stormwater plan here is we are going to fully comply with it is a redevelopment project, but we're ripping up and starting over again. We actually going to fully comply with the stormwater standards. It's actually fairly easy. That the other big standard is standard 2. Standard 2 is not reducing the rate of the flow off the property. So with the redevelopment of this property, we're actually reducing the impervious cover and increasing landscape area. That by itself will satisfy standard 2. So really what we need to really dig in and take care of is the stormwater quality and recharge standards. So that is our stormwater program here. And I'm going to jump down to landscape. See if I can hit that. All right. So here's our final landscape plan. As you can see, the orange is the 25-foot buffer. And as you can see, all the paving has been pulled as far out of the buffer zone as we can. The parking area is fully now outside of the 25 foot. It is within the 25 and 100, but any of that impervious surface will be mitigated, or we're mitigating the water quality and recharge of that pavement. And as you can see, there's planting throughout this entire area. There is an existing stormwater basin here that we're looking to revegetate with native seed mix. Currently, the existing site dumps into this basin. It's in very poor condition. It's not particularly aesthetically pleasing to look at, and we're looking to provide some seating and a walkway and we're looking to revegetate that. And we are maintaining a discharge to their area with our current stormwater, but we're looking to clean it up. It would be, vegetated as a bioretention area with some native seed mix. So we are planting trees, a seed mix. It's a native mix. It's going to include wildflowers, milkweeds, and such in this area. So this area will be greatly improved. Currently, it's mowed lawn along this edge, and so we're looking to revegetate it with a natural buffer between the park, this walkway, and the facility.
Mhm.
And I try to keep it quick so we can open it up to questions. But I think that covers it. So basically, the phasing is building 1 gets constructed and the 2 towers remain. Building 2 gets constructed and the 2 towers remain. So it's going to happen for building 3. It's unclear yet. It depends on the housing needs and where, we're hoping that we can take both towers down to construct building 3, but most likely we'll be removing 1 tower. Building 3 gets constructed. The people move from tower B into building 3, and then they knock down tower B. And this is totally dependent on funding. This process, this project is looking to be a 5 or 6 year project to completion. And that is predicated on that the funding mechanisms for this project are highly complicated. So that it's predicated on the funding. But each phase is designed to stand on its own. But once again, the first phase, I believe we're looking to begin, I think in 2025, I believe. I'm not sure, but the first phase and all the work of the first phase is totally outside of the buffer zone. But what we need to do is we need to permit the projects as a whole. And then just the other item that we're actually will be permitting concurrently with conservation will be subject to site plan review, which I believe we're submitting that in a couple weeks. So I think I'll wrap it up and open up questions to the commission now.
Are the total number of apartments going to be the same? Will it service the same number of people?
Yes, we're going to service the same. Let's see. I should know the number.
Not gonna be an increase. Yeah, I didn't see anything that said the number of
It
apartments.
might have been at the very. Let me see if I put it in the narrative. I hope I did. How many units were there? I wish I should know.
Because I would expect that there would be an increase in demand as the population ages.
Yes, unfortunately, there isn't the ability to expand on this site. I'm sure if we could, we would. 2-to-1 replication, current conditions, 10 stories.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I can follow up with that and share that with the
Because I noticed it was 2 10 stories and now it's like a 776 or something.
Yeah, 776. Yes, it is. And part of that is when you go above 7 stories, the construction costs get exorbitant. And I don't think the funding can support going over 7 stories here.
Interesting. And the parking is a little bit less, I think, than it was.
I think we're parking the same. I believe it's about the same parking. I believe we're parking at the same. As far as the number of spaces, I believe it was 163 current and 163 proposed. Some of those items I know, so this was submitted to the zoning board of appeals. I think it required some variances or maybe a special permit through the for findings, and that was approved. So we have crossed the zoning board of appeals hurdle, and now we're currently submitting to conservation and also planning board.
Kyle, you're up.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Steve. That was a great summary of the project. I don't really have anything to add to the summary portion, but I will just kind of move quickly into the recommendation. Again, this is very similar to the last project in that obviously there's a lot of work within floodplain. There's stormwater that needs to be confirmed here. So my recommendation is that we send this out for peer review. But again, because of the uncertainty with the whole process, I'm recommending that the commission just vote to send this out for peer review whenever that gets, ironed out. And when that happens, we will do that as soon as possible. That way we can, keep this project moving forward. But beyond that, I don't really have anything else to add tonight, Madam Chair. There is a hand that's been raised from
I
the
was just
attendees.
going to ask if do you mind if we ask the commissioners first, though, just in case other questions come
Oh,
up
absolutely.
as a result of that? Commissioners, any questions or a comment?
I'm comfortable with Cal's recommendation with the peer review. Again, with the circumstances being what they are, I think that's the best way to go so that things can continue to move forward as we progress with these new city council ordinances.
I agree with that. I did have one question again. Real quick, could you show again? Just you mentioned that walkway that's within the 25-foot. From I think.
A path along the river?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just this little sliver here. I'm sorry, you know what? I need to go back to, I
You're
gotta
not
share,
sharing
yeah,
screen.
wait, here we go. I gotta go back to share screen. Here we go.
No problem.
All right, we back?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just this little sliver here of walkway, and I'm not sure. I believe it's either going to be bituminous or a compacted chipstone, but it needs to be ADA compliant.
Right.
And what I will say is that we're reducing tenfold. But prior there was parking, and I think in the report I referred to the reduction of impervious surfaces within the 25, which we're providing a substantial reduction of the impact of this degraded site in the 25-foot no-touch area.
The circles with the little arch
Oh,
things?
trees.
They are
So
trees,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I thought
I think, yeah, so there's trees and there is a planting list. I didn't ask the
Okay.
landscape architect
okay.
to be on,
Yeah,
but
we'll-
there is a plant list,
That's okay.
and also the seed mix here. As far as a lot of these, I'm an engineer, so I don't understand what these grasses are, but I did see goldenrod. I saw some milkweed, all the stuff that we like.
Sneezeweed. That's funny. But it looks lovely. I mean,
Yeah.
In our imaginations.
Yeah, it's a great project. It's a great project for the city, great project for the housing authority, and I'm excited to be a part of it. That's for sure. And we're just trying to, I think the trickiest part of this is the funding, and then unfortunately the price, the costs of construction now and everything is just very expensive. So we're forging forward, in the Brockton Housing Authority and all the powers to be are working hard to make this all happen.
Good. Okay, commissioners? Is there anyone from the public with questions? Did you have a hand raised? Kyle?
Yeah.
Michelle?
Yeah, okay. Michelle's the architect on the project. She's
Hi, yeah, thanks for letting me speak. I just wanted to, I was lurking in the background listening to Steve's excellent presentation, but I just wanted to chip in and say to help him out with a couple of the stats for your benefit. The number of apartments is almost exactly the same. It's currently 398 in the 2 towers. It's going to be 400 in the 3.
Okay.
And the amount of parking, I believe, is exactly the same.
Okay.
There's not a great need of parking at the site. But I did also want to just kind of, I think Steve made a great case, but this is an incredible need at this development for new construction. I think everything we're doing is going to mitigate existing problems on the site and greatly improve it and provide a resource for the residents and really work to preserve the natural resource that's there. So anything that we can do to expedite the process and keep this project moving forward would be really greatly appreciated.
Great. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Michelle.
you.
And was there a lot of flooding this past spring?
There's been flooding regularly. The authority has to sandbag the site to keep water out of Building B. So when I was just there a couple months ago, they were preparing for another storm and they got water in the building. So it does happen regularly. The clock is definitely ticking for these buildings. So the early January start is ambitious, but we've been, working very hard to make that happen.
Mhm. Okay, hopefully we'll be able to get at least the consultant hurdle done quickly.
I hope so. Thank you.
No one else from the public?
I see no hands, Madam Chair.
Commissioners?
So I want to make a motion to continue to refer to the peer review and then continue the hearing once we have established who the peer review folks would be based on Cal's recommendation.
I second that motion.
So the motion's been made and seconded to continue the notice of intent for 1380 Main Street, to refer it to a outside consultant for stormwater and evaluation, and then to move it forward.
Yep.
So the vote, please. Roll call vote.
Clay, aye.
Green eye.
And Boris, aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Nice job, Mr. Sawyer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have continuances, don't we?
Yes, we do. The next one that's continued is contract building on East Ashland Street. That's correct. And then that will be continued till next month at Mr. Ferry's request, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Item 6 on the agenda, notice of intent for 511 Thatcher Street. That's the solar canopy construction. I believe Mr. Daggett was interested in speaking, right?
Yeah, and Scott is still a panelist from before, so yeah.
And does Scott work for Farland?
Yes, and also Laura from Beta is here with us tonight. So
good.
if Scott is not here currently, I guess she could.
Looks like he just unmuted himself, so.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
First of all, my apologies for interrupting
No problem.
that previous, I didn't realize my mic was not muted.
No, it's fine.
So my name is Scott Daggett, Senior Project Manager of Farland Corp. I believe Mr. Holden had spoken to Chairwoman Voorhees about reviewing the project and the ongoing beta review and meeting their requirements. So I believe it was asked of one of us to attend tonight's meeting to address any issues that may be ongoing.
So my understanding is that you had a video conference with Beta, and Kyle, you were there as well, and you hashed out a bunch of stuff. And then I did see that there was a fairly extensive Beta report that was submitted, right? Which was just a couple of days ago, and I unfortunately didn't see it until I opened up the file yesterday. Was it today or yesterday? And it is pretty extensive. And now my understanding is that Farland will respond to you, to Beta, with comments. Is that correct? Based on what your comments were?
Yes, so I can just give a brief overview. So since this project, I think the last time they were before you was back in November. It's been a while since you've seen it, and it is a pretty substantial project, but many of our comments have been addressed through some back and forth. There's really only 4 outstanding comments at this point. So, I thought it was a good time to, I think that everyone who's involved in the project thought it was maybe a good time for you guys to see the project again, know what the project is, know what the changes were, and then, there will be some minor revisions to comply with the rest of our comments. And then going forward, you might be able to make a decision maybe at the next hearing. So that next hearing, you weren't just getting everything and it was the first time you've seen it in 6 months.
It has been a while, yeah. Mr. Daggett, did you want to give that information, or are you comfortable with Beta doing the presentation?
So I do have a list. I have a current review that was dated June 24th of 2024. I believe that's the most current one.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through and have addressed, I believe, nearly all of the outstanding responses from Beta. And within the next day or two, after I've passed these along to Christian for review to make sure that, they, satisfy, what he thinks is appropriate, I hope to get these in Kyle's hands within a relatively short amount of time. I was unable to attend the meeting between Beta, Kyle, and us here at Fallon Corp. I was away at the time, so I do not know exactly what was discussed, but Christian did pass along a very generalized description of what needed to be addressed. So I have gone, since early this week, I have gone through that list and have addressed, I believe, every comment or outstanding comment that was that Beta had advised.
Okay. Now, I know that we haven't seen or heard much since November, so we do need someone to give us a quick overview of what's happened to the project and what, I'm not sure Kyle or Laura or Scott. If someone could do
Sure.
it, normally it would be the applicant, but whatever.
So I think since I think since November, I had given compensatory storage calculations, which were pretty extensive. I hope they were satisfactory. We have also made some minor changes, basically changing the location of the concrete pads that are going to be housing the electrical components and the batteries. We wanted to keep that further away from the wetlands that were in that one particular corner.
Mhm.
And now that that other gentleman was referencing the Whitman project, the sewer main. What I would like to do is just make sure that the information that I have matches anything that he may have relating to the location of the easement and the location of the sewer force main line, just to make sure that we don't have any conflict with the pile locations for the solar canopy.
Mhm.
So all in all, I believe, as we're addressing these comments from Beta, we're getting closer and closer, to getting this completed. I apologize for this ongoing, back and forth with Beta and trying to meet their requirements. But I think we finally got a handle on it now.
Mhm. Mhm. But it is a pretty extensive project, and I think it was a pretty degraded property. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping that, by implementing and installing these solar canopies, it will address a lot of their current issues.
Mhm.
Hopefully that they can, there's a project in New Bedford called Goyette's, an auto salvage yard, in which they substantially cleaned up their salvage yard, neatened, the arrangement of the vehicles, the salvage vehicles and so forth. So we're hoping that once we start getting to, putting shovels into the ground, that when they go ahead and they reestablish their auto salvage yard, that it'll be, more presentable, cleaner,
Mhm.
More manageable for them, and not so much of an eyesore.
Mhm. Laura, would you mind summarizing then what the final four concerns were, or whatever?
Absolutely, and I can also share my screen with the
That'd be
most
great.
up-to-date plan, so you can
Thank
see.
Thank you.
I mean, this plan is not the final plan, as Scott noted. There'll be an updated plan, some final information, but some of the things that were added to the plan, the dewatering area at the center of the site, which is good. It's, as far as it can be away from all of the adjacent wetlands. They did, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. They also moved their material, equipment, and storage area out of the buffer zone. So that's located in this area here. The equipment pads that Scott was referencing, those were located here previously. Now they've located it closer to the driveway, so further away from the wetlands. As he noted, they've provided more substantial calculations on their plans with respect to floodplain, their compensatory storage, and then they also provided very detailed calculations on all of their fill and how they actually arrived at their numbers. So they were able to demonstrate that they meet the performance standards for cut and fill requirements. A couple of the remaining comments that still exist. So this area on the south side of the property here, they did label this area to be maintained as lawn. The question is, like, what is the disposition of this area? So that's one of the comments that was in our letter from Monday. A second comment, and this one is a was a recommendation for a special condition was with respect to the context storm scepter unit that's actually proposed within the Thatcher Street right of way. We're recommending that prior to construction and especially prior to installation of this structure, that there be documentation of approval from the DPW prior to it being installed, because it's not within the property itself. Another comment that still needs to be addressed is all of their cut and fill calculations are related to when these pads were actually in this location. It actually, I think, is a benefit. It'll benefit the calculations where they are shown now. So I don't see an issue with it. It should just be consistent with the plans. And then finally, there are couple of really, they're kind of housekeeping comments, but we want to make sure that the documents meet the standards. So one of them is that there needs to be a plan in the O&M plan that documents all of the stormwater features and exactly what is required. So there should be like a plan like this in the O&M plan that has all the various features pointed out, what needs to be maintained, and then also that a redevelopment checklist be filled out, because this is a redevelopment site for the stormwater standards. So that's what's remaining on this. Sorry, I skipped the wildlife habitat evaluation. So that's something that also needs to be provided. I did see that one was submitted, I think it was maybe yesterday, or I have not had a chance to look at it yet, but they have provided something. We had recommended potentially, and this is, up to the commission, whether you require it or whether the applicant is amenable to it, because this area is being cleared, and right now it is within the tree line, and it's within floodplain and within the inner buffer zone. It is presumed significant for bordering, it's presumed significant for wildlife habitat. So if they could do something with like low growing shrubs in this location, or like a wildflower mix or something like that, they will be providing some level of wildlife habitat that could enhance that area. So that's something that we had recommended in our letter. And if that is included in the plans, that area now being able to continue to provide wildlife habitat wouldn't need to be considered a permanent BLSF alteration. So that comes out of their calculation. It's still a calculation, but it would not contribute to them not meeting the performance standards. But that's what remains. I think all of them are